One power, one power, one power. There's one power, invisible, yet we see it everywhere in everything. There's one power, indescribable, yet we speak of it in every word we say. Mysterious until you know the truth, as simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem, or Heaven's Door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, or it's your sun. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth, or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. Oh, it's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. It's one power, one power, one power.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Nina Clark, and I am the Associate Minister here at Unity in Lynnwood. Welcome. We're so glad that you're here with us this morning. Are any of you quote collectors? I am, and I've been collecting quotes off and on for most of my life, way before the internet made that as easy as plugging your email address into a site. Every day, several quotes will faithfully pop up in my email. Some speak to me and I save them for later. Some I delete, and the rare one grabs me and won't let me go. I had two grab me this week, but I've chosen to share a quote by Angel Kyoto Williams, who is a maverick Zen teacher, a social visionary who has been described as the most vocal and intriguing African-American Buddhist in America. Her quote that grabbed me this week was this: "For us to transform as a society, we have to allow ourselves to be transformed as individuals. And for us to be transformed, we have to allow for the incompleteness of any of our truths and a real forgiveness for the complexity of human beings." I think that we can all agree that no matter what labels we walk with in this world, there are things that we'd like to see be different. We may not agree on what those things are, but ain't none of us happy with the way things are. And we've been playing the same game of tug-of-war with the same thick, dirty rope for eons. I believe that those of us who are attracted to a teaching like Unity are ready for something different, a transformed society. And maybe we can finally agree that the way we've been going about it isn't working. And that just might be because we're trying to do it mostly from the outside in. Reverend Williams tells us, just like Unity teaches us, that we must first allow ourselves to be transformed as individuals. We need to do our own work. There are so many things that we take as absolute truth, and we never really examine them. Heck, we don't even necessarily see them. A small thing, but its smallness makes it an ideal example. Last night at dinner, we were eating a dish that had cooked cucumbers in it. And we all laughed about how it had never occurred to us that a cooked cucumber could be good. And it struck me that that was one of those taken for granted truths that I had lived with until the moment that I ate a cooked cucumber. They were for eating raw only, in salad or in a vegetable appetizer tray with a dipping sauce, but raw, until I ate one cooked. I realize that cooked versus raw cucumbers are a small and rather harmless thing to hold as a truth, but how many other so-called truths that are not so harmless are floating around inside of us that we never question? We never even think to question them. In the same way, we all think society should look like either X or Y, and we keep pulling on that same old tug-of-war rope. What if we became open to a new answer and start to allow for the incompleteness of any of our truths? Maybe if we are open to transforming ourselves, new answers will be revealed and we can create a society that we can't even imagine from here. Much the same as I couldn't fathom a cooked cucumber until I tasted it. And I want to tell you, it was good. Will you close your eyes with me and open to a willingness to see that the truths we hold so dear are mostly incomplete? Will you breathe with me into the stillness within? Breathe into that stillness within until you are once again aware that this stillness within is one with the stillness that is everywhere and every when. Allow your awareness to expand into that limitlessness until you are immersed in, that you are inseparable from. Allow the boundary that you call you to fall away and to know yourself as one with the one, and thus one with all that is true about the one. And from this place of expansion, allow a willingness to be birthed and to expand throughout your being, a willingness to accept that what we think we know is not the whole truth. Let us lean into a willingness to grow, to expand, to transform, to allow a bigger truth, to enrich our consciousness about how we are to live together. Let us commit to seeing past the limitations that we each present to ourselves and each other, seeing past those limitations to the truth of that which resides with a calm certainty and a steady persistence, a love without bounds, an unlimited wisdom, a staggering creativity, a peaceful harmony. And let that consciousness of divine wisdom inform our words and our actions and give birth to a new way of seeing. Let that consciousness of a loving peace inform our words and actions and give birth to a new way of listening, of hearing. Let a consciousness of unconditional love inform our words and our actions and give birth to a new way of being, to a consciousness of real forgiveness for the complexity of being human. Let us commit and recommit to making space for the staggering creativity of a power that knows no limits to infuse us with a bigger answer, a more compassionate answer, a more loving answer, a wiser answer than that which causes us to pick up that stained and filthy old tug-of-war rope. And so it is.
It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunlight on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of the baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we unravel. It's love that's most deep. It's one power. It's one power. It's the power of the love. One power, one power, one power. There is a candle in every soul, some brightly burning, some dark and cold. There is a spirit who brings a fire, ignites a candle, and makes his home. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light your world. Take your candle and go light your world. Frustrated brother, see how he's tried to light his own candle some other way. See now your sister, she's been robbed and lied to, still holds a candle without a flame. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the lonely, the tired and worn. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light your world. Take your candle and go light your world. We are a family whose hearts are blazing, so let's raise our candles and light up the sky, praying to creation in the name of oneness, makes us a beacon in darkest times. So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the helpless, deceived and poor. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light your world. Take your candle and go light your world. Carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused and torn. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light your world. Take your candle and go light your world.
Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. What a pleasure it is to welcome those of you who can be in our physical sanctuary this morning. It is a pleasure that is equaled by welcoming those of you who are present in our virtual sanctuary. This morning, my name is Dr. Richard Loren Held. It is the privilege of a lifetime to be the spiritual director at this evolving, unfolding idea, an experiment in oneness and possibility we call Unity in Lynnwood. For those of you who have children, note that youth and family ministries gatherings are available to you. If you'd like credentials for next week's gathering, simply contact that program's director. Her name is Stacy Bailey. We invite you to take advantage of the vehicles of connection and support which we have fashioned for you. Of course, visit unityinlynnwood.org. You can meet your leaders, read recent blogs, enjoy archived podcasts, enlist prayer support, even download brochures. There's a new website ready to launch. We are most excited. You will love it. Engage with UIL on the social media platforms of your choice. We invite you to download the Breeze app, especially if you are a formal member of Unity in Lynnwood. Download the Breeze app. It's available to you by clicking on your social media chat window. This enables text reminders, notifications, and so much more. Always, if you would like assistance with any or all of the above, we stand at the eager ready to assist. Simply click or call. Whew. Practical spirituality welcoming community, that admittedly short mission statement. Short in word, but broad on idea. And so it is that every week I like to speak one of the 6 bullet points, one of the 6 values statements, we might call them. And today we've chosen the 6th of 6. Take a deep breath with me. Let's consider the following. It reads, we welcome people from all spiritual traditions, or from no spiritual tradition whatsoever, into every activity of our community. What do you think about that? Everyone's welcome. If you would like personal prayer, or if you would like to experience what we call a divine wholeness session, a time of simply allowing another individual in a time of silence to know something of the highest possible truth of you, start the process simply by writing prayer at unityinlynnwood.org. Either the director of our prayer ministries or a chaplain will happily be in touch. If you are new or newer to our community or to Unity in general, we would love to send you a gift. It is a copy of Unity's Daily Word magazine. Yet again, simply click or call. Include your mailing address, please. Whew. Now, how about this for an affirmation? See what you think. I am one with the infinite wisdom of God. And as such, I allow the grand thoughts of an unlimited thinker to inspire me with their grandeur, to enliven me with their possibility, and to support me with their resources. How does that fit for you? Said more simply, you are one with divine mind. It was Chopra who said it this way, and I quote, underlying the infinite diversity of life is the unity of one all-pervasive spirit. There is no separation between you and this field of energy, end quote. It was the early writer Ralph Waldo Trine who said it this way, anyone who has come into a knowledge of his or her true identity of his or her oneness with the all-pervading wisdom and power, this makes it possible for laws higher than the ordinary mind knows of to be revealed to him or her. It was Emerson who said it the same thing in a different way. He said, there is a soul at the center of nature and over the will of every human. Callee said it this way, that Jesus realized his oneness with God, and what he attempted to do was to show all of us how to realize our oneness with God as well. Unity might have said the same thing this way, that God is the source and creator of all, and that we are spiritual beings created in God's image. Now, others might say the same thing with words such as, well, you are one with the universal mind, you are one with allness, you are one with first cause, with the infinite all-knowing, with the mind of God, with God itself. You are one with divine mind. I might say that there's only one life, by whatever name you choose to call it. There is one life, omniscient, omnipresent, which sources all life in the universe. Now, the fullness of this one life saturates its creation, yet this one life remains greater. In the same way that the fullness of the ocean saturates the droplet, yet the ocean remains greater. In the same way that the fullness of the sun saturates the ray, yet the sun remains greater. There is one life, eternal and unlimited, which by its very definition exists without opposition. As I've said so many times before, there is no force for evil. There is no universal antagonist. There is no dark force battling against this one life for possession of your soul. Yes, as inconvenient as it is to admit it yet again in 2020, the devil didn't really make you do anything. This one life is eternally creative. It's forward-oriented and causal to the limitless ideas and grand possibilities which swirl and circle about you in every moment, forever presenting themselves for your consideration. This one life is causal to the limitless ideas and grand possibilities which have swirled and circled about all of humanity since the beginning of all time. I have people waving things at me. How's this? Tuck it in. Thought it was tucked in. There you go. We all have our blind spots, right? It's a valuable lesson right there. Somebody's going to come up to you and say, tuck it in. It's good to say thank you when your blind spot is revealed. So thank you. So in other words, the same genius thinker which has sourced the greatest revealers throughout history is the genius thinker which sources you today. Or as Emerson reminds, any overestimate, I love this quote, any overestimate of the possibilities of Paul and Pericles, an underestimate of our own, comes from a neglect of the fact of an identical nature. This one life is eternally creative, forward-oriented, and causal to the limitless ideas and grand possibilities which swirl and circle about you in every moment, forever pressing themselves for your consideration. These limitless ideas and grand possibilities challenge the boundaries of your small self-estimations. They squeeze the air from your puffed up humilities. They dare the comforts of your imagined securities. These limitless ideas and grand possibilities are inherently far too bold and far too large, fundamentally unbelievable, and essentially unachievable because they have to be, because limitless ideas and grand possibilities require you to grow in consciousness. They require you to uncover more of your spiritual potential. These limitless ideas and grand possibilities exist outside the narrow boundaries of society's status quo. So inasmuch as we might be tempted to turn to society for some modicum of affirmation, for some nod of approval of the limitless idea or the grand possibility which we have chosen to entertain, may we come to understand that true faith is to turn from the wisdom of society and toward that wisdom which resides within our own hearts and minds. For it's only that wisdom which resides within our own hearts and minds which is adequate for the fulfillment of the idea or possibility. May we come to understand that true faith is to turn from the wisdom of society, rooted in predictability and circular idleness, which would tease and taunt that business idea that presses your mind to launch. It teases and taunts that song which inspires your tongue to sing, that poem which enlivens your fingers to write, that desire which presses your heart to express. May we come to understand that true faith is to turn from that very wisdom, rooted in mimicry and false security, which would disparage and demean your existence itself in countless unceasing ways. Rather, may we come to understand that true faith is to turn toward the wisdom which would lift us from such monotonous mundanity, toward the wisdom which would place us squarely on the path of independence and courage, the path common to all individuals of unprecedented genius and all proponents of meaningful change. Or as the old adage goes, it's only as we step outside the crowd that we position ourselves to go beyond the crowd. And while an individual's unique brand of revelation may stand him or her against family, maybe against church, school, history, or precedent, any fleeting punishments will pale against the enduring rewards. It was on this day in history, 1960, that a young girl, she walked into her new school, ready for first grade. Now for her, this was just another morning in New Orleans. And I have to say, I think there's some grace in that innocence. But I would ask, where would we be if not for the courage of Ruby Bridges' mother? And where would we be if not for the courage of Ruby Bridges' teacher, the only one who would teach her? And where would we be if not for the courage of Norman Rockwell, who immortalized all of it?
November 14th, 1960, was the first day of first grade for 6-year-old Ruby Bridges of New Orleans. That was also a memorable date in American history. It was the first day of court-ordered desegregation of the New Orleans public school system. Back in 1954, the Supreme Court declared the racial segregation of public schools unconstitutional. More than a year later, some African-American parents in New Orleans sued the school board for failure to comply with the court's ruling. Finally, after almost 5 years of legal wrangling, a federal order was issued, demanding the gradual desegregation of New Orleans schools, beginning with the first grade. So, in November 1960, Ruby was one of only 4 black students starting first grade at the previously all-white schools. Ruby attended William Frantz Elementary. The other 3 went to another school. Federal marshals escorted Ruby past a rioting white mob into the building. All of the teachers except one refused to teach while a black child was enrolled. And within that first week of classes, nearly all of the white students in the schools had withdrawn. In Ruby's class, she and the teacher were the only 2, and it stayed that way for the rest of the school year. Despite the continued threats and retaliation against her family, Ruby remained at Frantz Elementary, and in 1961, she advanced to the 2nd grade.
May we come to understand that true faith stands fast in the truths which society's wisdom sometimes can't perceive. True faith stands fast in the company of those who would tease and taunt, in the company of those who would disparage and demean, with Emerson's encouragement echoing throughout the spiritual ears, and I quote, you've heard it before, "The fact that I am here certainly shows me that the soul had need of an organ here. Shall I not assume the post, or shall I skulk and dodge with my unseasonable apologies and vain modesty and imagine my being here impertinent?" Emerson goes on to remind each of us that nature works by falling, meaning that the ripe fruit falls, the planets fall, even human walking and the miracle of birth are acts of falling. As nature works by falling, it's only as we align with nature's ease that we can discover real strength. It's only as we align with nature's simplicity that we can discover real power. In the end, successful people are so because they have abandoned something of the struggle and despair, something of the wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth, which is of no assistance whatsoever to the higher laws which are ever ushering life forward in their calm and experienced assuredness. Successful people are so, not because there is something more in them. Successful people are so because there is something less in them. Successful people are so because this divine mind found something of an unobstructed channel. So to conclude with more words from Emerson, and I quote, "Let us take our bloated nothingness out of the path of the divine circuits. Let us unlearn our wisdom of the world, and let us place ourselves in the middle of the stream of power and wisdom." End quote. May every woman give to her world the full, unapologetic, unedited, unabashed, unabridged, uncut version of herself. May every man let out the full length of the reins. May all people allow the light to shine through a transparency of character, that all who might look upon us will see nothing but truth. So if you drove yourself here today, if you ordered coffee today, if you checked your email today, it's because someone made welcome an idea or a possibility far too bold and far too large. And it's because that someone turned from the wisdom of society and toward the wisdom within his or her own heart and mind for its fulfillment. If you are a woman, if you are of a certain age, if you are LGBTQ identified, if you're a person of color, if you're a WASP, if you're a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Jew, pagan, agnostic, an atheist, if you're a Democrat or if you are a Republican, if you're a Seahawks fan or a Rams fan. Quite simply, if you are here, sitting in this beautiful building, or if you are there, sitting in that beautiful chair, it's because someone made welcome an idea or a possibility fundamentally unbelievable and essentially unachievable. And it's because that someone turned from the wisdom of society and toward the wisdom within his or her own heart and mind for its fulfillment. You are one with divine mind. So instead of acquiescing to the wisdom of the world, the charge is to embrace a higher wisdom. Instead of waiting for the infinite to contract, the call is to rise from our finite sense of self. Instead of basking in personal smallness, the call is to commit to something of God's grandness within us and through us and as us. We close as we began by turning to an affirmation. If you're comfortable doing so, if you'd like to do so, you're welcome to close your outer eyes. Allow my words to become your own, and then we'll just be for a couple minutes afterward, okay? The words read as follows: I am one with the infinite wisdom of God. And as such, I allow the grand thoughts of an unlimited thinker to inspire me with their grandeur, to enliven me with their possibility, and to support me with their resources. one with the infinite wisdom of God. And where there might be a lesser idea, a low estimation, a nagging habit, a tenacious fear, I imagine it dissolving. I imagine it dissipating. I imagine it vaporizing back into the nothingness from which it arose, that I might become yet again Emerson's hollow reed for a truly noble, profoundly holy work to be made manifest in the world through me today. I am one with the infinite wisdom of God. Carry that into your week. And so it is.
Thank you, Dr. Richard. I am one with the infinite wisdom of God. This part of the service that we refer to as offertory is really a time for us to intentionally stand in the flow of substance. It is time for us to know our oneness with the all that is. This is a time of intentional practice. It is an intentional opportunity to know, along with your spiritual community and with every last thread of your thought, with all of your power, with all of your intention, with all of your being, that by virtue of your inability to be separate from the one substance, you are rich abundance itself. You are life in abundance, wisdom in abundance, power in abundance, love in abundance. Indeed, all that God is, you are in abundance, richly endowed simply by virtue of your inability to be separate. You only need know it, and know it powerfully, and accept it with your full self. So in this time of virtual community, and for those on site as well, let us join our hearts and minds together and bless our individual offerings, knowing that we are one. And then while Matthew enfolds us with his beautiful voice, you will have time to access the text to give or online donation option that will be posted for you in your Facebook or YouTube chat window. So if you would, go ahead and take your offering. If it's something tangible, money or a check, go ahead and hold it in your hand. And if it's a virtual number that you plan to give an intention, go ahead and hold that in your hand as well, knowing that both are simply symbols of abundance. And know with me, know with your community, that through the sharing of your abundance of love, of wisdom, of life, of plenty itself, that you are, and thus we are, a blessing in the world. And so it is.
All that I am, all that I am, I offer at the altar of love in sweet surrender, in sweet surrender.
Such a pleasure to be with you this morning. Such a pleasure to be with you this morning. As always, we do ask that you register for any UIL event by clicking on a link provided or by visiting the UnityInLynnwood.org website. For all obvious reasons, we cannot entertain drop-ins at the present time. Spiritual Saturdays with Rabbi Ted Falcon. November 21st, I believe that's this Saturday, 11 o'clock a.m., streaming both through Unity in Lynnwood's Facebook channel and YouTube page. If you have not yet experienced the cavernous depth of wisdom that is Rabbi Ted Falcon, please consider giving yourselves that gift. Thanksgiving Eve, one of my favorite services of the year. Unity would teach gratitude not as a reactive human emotion that comes up involuntarily when all of life and its people and circumstances read the scripts of earthly pleasure which you've written. But rather it is a proactive spiritual discipline that can be used. We bring this front and center on Thanksgiving Eve, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, again streaming through Unity in Lynnwood's social media channels. An evening to practice gratitude. How about that? Join Karen Breen James at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific on Wednesday, October 28th, to discuss Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore's loving and gentle way of transforming thought and body, prosperity, overall well-being. Again, we simply ask that you write small groups at unityinlynnwood.org to facilitate that registration. Membership at Unity in Lynnwood, January 2021. If you are not yet a member and you desire to be, our next membership class will be held 3 Sundays in January. You are warmly welcome. Soul, things, books, and gifts. Please visit our social media channels to explore the beta test of our online shop. We're only offering 4 items at present because we are beta testing it, and we can fulfill your order either by shipping or with curbside pickup by appointment only Tuesdays, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock Pacific. So if you are traveling from Boston to pick up your mug, take a deep breath with me. Let's close with what we call prayer. You know, I'm teaching a class beginning in some point next year. I want to do a deepened exploration of prayer. And it's based upon this idea that you're always praying. Dance with that. What if you're always praying? Then the act we call prayer becomes a moment of intentionality. That's really what it is. It is a moment of intentional elevation to the quality of prayer that is already underway. And as we elevate, as we open ourselves and touch something of a higher truth, the task isn't to abandon it when we reopen our human eyes. The task is to carry it forth, is to stay in that elevated place. It's to remain in dare I say, a vibration of elevated remembering. That's the task. All those words, and we haven't even prayed yet. So close those outer eyes and let us consider what the spiritual eyes of us are capable of seeing instead. If you're like me, there's an increasing awareness that indeed we are not separate islands of life, but that we are inextricably bound, one with each other. If you're like me, you come into a heightened seeingness of a wisdom that is ample to a human incarnation. If you're like me, you come into a heightened seeing of a sufficiency. I can't look out of my window without recognizing the sufficiency of the divine. We were not sent here for struggle, for strain. Oh, I come into a seeingness of a sufficiency. The divine has provided all that is required for the evolution of my enduring self. I'm well supported. And if you're like me, you can sense harmony. Harmony. A pressing of life itself into the world of form as a harmony, a balance, an awakened reciprocity among God's creation. And so to this and to all that we hold God to be, we give rise to a sense of gratitude then. And we allow this gratitude to be the very hue which colors the remainder of our day. We close as we always do with sung words of blessing, with sung words of farewell.
May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light with